I can't, when I exercise and dogs are on me, I'll stop and I'll just play with them.
I'm going to mute myself real quick and call Zechariah.
Okay. That's pretty awesome, Javier. That's really cool that you managed to gain that kind of recognition for your program.
Yeah, you're up in the game, man. I'm going to shoot for your target now.
They weren't thinking about closing us down. I mean, we were not a very well thought of program. So.
And it's all Mundorf that's turned it around, right? Right there, Javier?
It's teamwork. It's teamwork.
Oh, all Mundorf.
I think ROTC is such a perfect fit for Kennedy. I can't even imagine Kennedy without ROTC.
I like it.
ROTC's been there since I went there.
Easy. You went to Kennedy.
Yep.
Walking down the halls, judging.
Dude, it was a very different school when I went there, though.
I bet.
Yeah. It started to go through a pretty big change when I was going through there. And when my sister went there, it was basically how it was when it started. It was just all white and Asian. And then when I went there, it started, like, the demographic started changing and it started expanding who they drew from.
Yeah.
And now the whole, I don't think there was a single teacher left that taught me at Kennedy anymore. They're all retired or gone.
So 14, 15, 16, 17.
We're just waiting on Zechariah.
Yeah.
Paying millennials.
I have to get to that. I have to get there.
Yep, I think there's something to be said for that.
Now I completed.
Hey, give me my phone.
Yeah. Robin, how's it been for you?
On to level 3.
Right now, I'm doing kindergarten lessons
Nice.
while we are doing the colloquium.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I've been a little overwhelmed because within the 5 classes I teach a day, I've got 11 subjects. And so I've got 6 Google Classrooms with 11 different subjects for diploma track kids, ranging from art to history, like 3 different history classes and math classes and English and science. So, and then I just held 6 triannual IEPs in the last 2 weeks, and usually you only have like 4 a year. So,
I need to do 24 this time.
That's how I'm doing.
Mom, I have to be 24.
How about you, Zach? How are you doing?
Like a what?
I'm doing all right. I finished my credential classes last week, so
I'm gonna make a
that
breakfast.
feels good. Yeah,
Okay.
I still have to take the RECA.
Ooh,
But
ready for that.
yeah, but like I can't right now. So
But didn't you take Duran's classes?
yeah,
Then you were fine.
yeah, I'm not too worried. I just got to go take it. So
You been doing all right with everything, or?
Mom, I made a breakfast.
I think so. I mean, my house is comfortable. Getting in touch with the students has been a task.
Yeah.
It's sort of
The level
sort of
5 now.
inconsistent. But I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been doing. But yeah, like I'm trying to have like weekly conferences with them since I only have 16.
Okay.
So the ones that I have been able to contact, once things get established, it's not even that bad. It's just sort of like maybe 15-minute stops,
Okay.
checking in, making sure everything's okay.
Are you, Robin and Zach, are your guys' families okay? Like everybody's healthy and good?
I have an aunt and uncle in West Hollywood who died of the coronavirus, but they were both in their 90s. And they have a cat, and the tax lawyer who was trying to handle the wills can't get the cat, and the cat's been stuck under the bed, and he's afraid to go in the house, and which makes it a little bit comical. So.
In a macabre sort of way, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what about you? How is everything with you guys? Everyone good?
Fine.
Yeah.
I really miss the kids. I hate the computer. I think it's stupid, and I want to go back to school.
Yeah. You know, I actually put that on my ROTC after action. As much as it on paper you can spin statistics and make it seem like we're doing great, we need the kids. There's so many of them that have fallen off and are doing nothing that I don't know what they're doing like at home.
Right.
And I know what their situation was like before we left. It couldn't have gotten better being with all the doors and windows shut.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
Go ahead, Sandy.
Well, I guess I kind of go back and forth because it's been so hard on the students to just get thrown into this with no training at all, that I think that they're doing very well, even if I've got 75% of my students registered in my Google Classroom, and of them 50% are participating in the daily attendance survey and classwork, and they usually catch up. But just based on their lack of preparation, I think that that's really good, but it's not good enough for next year and to continue to be working this way. That's, how I feel about it. So.
Okay. Well, in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get started. But I was going to share with you guys my screen to kind of go over the agenda and what all we're supposed to be doing. So give me 1 second while I do that. So can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, check in the procedures and protocols. I mean, we're a small group. I think we'll be all right there. The big thing that I want you guys to know is that I'm going to be choosing you guys as co-hosts as you present out on your specific screen, with the exception of Sandy, because I have her presentation up on mine for some technical reasons there. So you guys are just going to be presenting out on your slides one by one. Robin and I are going to be asking kind of questions and probing a little bit at different points. And then you guys will be filling out a rubric. So I would have the rubric open. As each presenter is going, you're able to kind of fill that out and, kind of submit that there. There should be an online form for that, correct?
I have to find that.
Is that in the induction?
So Robin, you and I don't have it. You guys should have it in your classwork section. In the tab. There should be, the Colloquium, and then if you click on the Colloquium tab, it should pop up, the different files.
The presentation rubric?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So you'll want to fill that out with each person presenting. And once that that participating teacher is done presenting and you filled out the rubric and you hit submit, we'll move on to the second presenter and kind of go through that way. So does that make sense, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and finally, the Google activity form that you fill out each week when you meet, be sure to check Colloquium. And because Kelly has indicated that this needs to be a 2-hour meeting, we need to indicate 2. So, to make sure that we don't have to meet again. We've already met her requirement of having at least one other support provider and their participating teacher. So I know that we've met that basic requirement. I just don't feel like having her come back on us and say, well, you didn't meet for the full 2. And it's like, give me a break. So that's the story there. So do you guys have a preference for who goes first? Zach, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Let me just make sure.
So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to make you co-host.
Okay.
Okay.
And the rest of us are supposed to be doing our rubric.
Yes. So as Zach is presenting, you're going to want to make sure that you have that rubric open so you can complete it. So when he's done,
I think it looks like we only talk about ourselves. All right. Because the first part asks for
Square. It's a square now.
ourselves. Wait, what? Sorry, I'm going through the rubric too because I'm trying to figure it out.
yeah,
Does
unfortunately,
Sandy know she's muted?
Good job.
Don't know.
yeah, she's figuring it out.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
you hear me now?
Yep, now we
Can
can.
you hear me now? Okay, cool. Thank you.
It's so funny
Thank you.
when I go to unmute somebody and then they mute it, accidentally mute it. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So does the rubric look like it's for yourself or for other people? It should be for other people, correct?
The first part is about yourself.
Okay.
So,
But the second part is for other people?
yeah, but we're supposed to talk about the feedback that we receive. So I'm going to say something like, anyways, I guess I'm going first, so I don't mind.
I suppose
But I
wouldn't
think for other
you then
people,
fill
might
out
be
the rubric after everyone
Yeah,
can go?
I think we filled out the rubric for ourselves.
yeah, that's what it looks like.
So is what feedback?
We
Can
just
we
get
do it
feedback from
on our
everyone
own
else.
after it's all
yeah.
done? My question about the rubric is,
Okay.
can
So
we do it on our own when we're all done with this?
Yeah, we were sort of all talking at the same time. So if I could just speak to it, I wish Kelly would have shared with us the rubric because I could have given you guys clearer directions with it. But however you guys want to do it, it sounds like the rubric is for yourself. So yeah, why don't we just go ahead and you maybe listen closely, provide some feedback to the presenter. And after this is done, go ahead and complete your rubric there. And submit. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make this quick. So this is my colloquium slides for this year. So the first standard is engaging in supporting all students in learning. The first standard, or sort of substandard that I wanted to talk about or touch on, was using knowledge of students to engage them in learning. And so I'm trying to do that right now with weekly meetings. I haven't been able to set up all of them yet. But yeah, I have weekly Zoom meetings or phone calls with my students in order to try to engage them. So, like, for example, this week in my English class, I know some of them enjoy Disney related stuff. So we're doing poetry analysis, and the poem that I chose was a Disney song. So something like that. Next.
Zach, are your Zooms one to one, or is it like 1 to 2, or what?
Those are 1-to-ones.
Okay.
There's like a group one on Fridays, but yeah, because especially in my program, like communication is such a hard thing. I need it to be one-on-one.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just sort of ineffective.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then 1.2 sub standard was connecting learning to students' prior knowledge, backgrounds, life experiences, and interests. And so I try to focus lessons or use background knowledge as much as possible. So for this Mansa Musa lesson, before they read it, I wanted them to read or watch these 2 YouTube videos to get an idea of who Mansa Musa is. And then they would read into the lesson and or like do some readings from different sources and try to figure out which ones were true or which ones had more sort of what's the word, like historical veracity, or something like that. And so yeah. All right, standard 2, creating and maintaining effective environments for student learning. My whole program is sort of centered on developing skills or social skills along with literacy. So it's sort of those 2 focuses. And so 2.1 is promoting social development and responsibility within a caring community where each student is treated fairly and respectfully. So try to teach my students explicitly how to do that with each other is like part of what the main goals that I try to teach in my program. Substandard 2.5, developing, communicating, and maintaining high standards for individual and group behavior. At the beginning of the year, individual and group behavior was not great. It still isn't super great, but we spent nearly a month in English class just trying to get those rules down because it was not happening in the other classes, and it wasn't even happening in English. So once we had that, things were a little bit better. At least the kids felt like they had agreed to those things, and they at least sort of self-policed each other, except they just picked on the kids that they didn't like. That was kind of the problem. Okay.
Zach, this is going to sound like a stupid question, but are you guys pull out the entire day, or is it partial day?
It depends. Well, all of my kids have at least some kind of general ed class. For some of them, they have like all of their core classes with me, and some of them have more sort of inclusive setting kind of situations. So yeah, it sort of varies depending on the kid. But in my English class, I have all of my kids, because otherwise it wouldn't really make sense for them to be in the language emphasis class if the whole point of them being in there is that they have issues with literacy. So yeah, that's where I try to focus my whole program stuff in my English class. Yeah. Standard 3, understanding and organizing subject matter for student learning. Okay, substandard 3, organizing curriculum to facilitate student understanding of the subject matter. And so I organized my curriculum in organizing my Google Classroom. Yeah, I tried to, as much as possible, sort of pick up where we left off when school stopped. So yeah, that's been a whole thing, because I didn't have anything online yet. Substandard 3.5, using and adapting resources, technologies, standards aligned instructional materials, including adapted materials, to make subject matter accessible to all students. One of the main things I've been trying to do is adapting my classroom or Google Classroom materials. And so trying to provide as many links and sort of self-learning opportunities for the students. So like last week, one of my poetry analysis was my shot from Hamilton. And so I linked them a bunch of videos that I thought sort of helped them understand what Hamilton was about and what it sort of meant when it was sort of really popular. Yeah. All right, standard 4, planning instruction and designing learning experiences for all students. So substandard 4 is using knowledge of students' academic readiness, language proficiency, cultural background, and individual development to plan instruction. And literally every lesson in my program is adapted. So this is an example. In my math class, we use these notes, and it's literally every single step for every sort of math skill that they have to learn. So yeah, that's that. 4.3, developing and sequencing long-term and short-term instructional plans to support student learning. So this is an example of sort of the unit that we're going through right now in my US history class. So we've been sort of doing westward expansion. So the culture shock is sort of an engagement activity. It's sort of like, what was life like in the expanding West? And then notes, and then sort of interactive activities building to sort of a unit project. At least that's the idea. Sometimes that actually happens. All right, standard 5, assessing students for learning. So 5.2 is collecting and analyzing assessment data and from a variety of sources to inform instruction. So what I tried to do in my program is, at least through a unit, maybe not necessarily in one lesson, is build multiple means of expression. So they have to write paragraphs or write responses to questions in readings or whatever. And then at the end, I try to give them some kind of project where they're writing and or expressing their understanding through another means. So for example, this is sort of the unit project thing for Islam, where they're going to design a poster based on what they understand from the Islam unit in world history. 5.4, using assessment data to establish learning goals and to plan, differentiate, and modify instruction. All my lessons are differentiated. Sometimes we end up just reviewing a skill because it didn't get mastered in the last lesson, and sometimes we just move on faster to the next skill when the kids sort of get it quicker. Standard 6, developing as a professional educator. So the first one is about setting goals. And in my credential program, I wrote an ITDLP, which is basically induction goals, super, super involved. And so, yeah, I set goals. This is one of like 5 or 6 that I set in this one, where I hope to accomplish these by next year. So this one is about, yeah, identifying students and making sure they're sort of placed correctly. Okay, and then my last one, 6.3, is collaborating with colleagues and the broader professional community to support teacher and student learning. Yeah, I mean, I eat lunch in Robin's classroom every week or every day. So I'm always collaborating, always talking. I'll reach out to gen ed teachers that my students have, and discuss how things are going with those students, and try to problem solve and figure out what to do if a student has needs.
That's for sure. We've done it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. I'll stop my share now. And then I don't know if you guys have any feedback.
I think it went well. I think you did good.
Cool, thank you.
I liked the weekly one-on-one Zoom meeting, Zach, and I'm going to implement that. I'm going to put it on my Google Classroom that if any students would like to ask for a one-on-one meeting, to start setting those up. And I think that that's, even though I've got a larger class load, I think that since there's only 75% on and 50% being, I think that I need to offer them that. I think that's great.
How do you go about scheduling it, Zach?
I have so few kids, I can just reach out to them or their parents, especially since I have like that relationship through like IEPs and whatnot. Yeah, sort of the privilege of being in the SDC kind of program.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just trying to reach out to them as much as possible. I sent like sort of a survey in my English class of like, hey, if you can respond and tell me when you're available. And then I did like a Survey Monkey where they said like, I can do 10 to 12 a or 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Monday. I can do 2 to 3 on Tuesday, and whatever for the whole week. So once I got that, then I tried to schedule them in. Yeah.
Good morning, Kelly.
She's muted.
Morning.
Yeah. So,
Kelly.
Say that again.
I think it was just people saying good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Javier, you all set?
I am. One more thing for Zach. I think it's really impressive that you're able to get that many students on in your Zoom meetings. We've left our office hours open to their availability as early or as late as they want it. And I've only met with 5 cadets in 7 weeks we've been doing this.
Oh, okay.
They just, when it's optional, they haven't been lining up like they do in the classroom. In the classroom, before school, after school, during lunch, both lunches, there's a line outside my door of kids waiting talk, but it hasn't worked that way for Zoom. So it's pretty cool that you're able to get that kind of engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things is that, like for some of them, like their parents are definitely like helping them and telling them that they should meet. So that's been also helpful in making sure I can get that contact. So I don't know how close you guys are with your parents, but or with your students' parents, but being able to sort of talk to them is also helpful because, like, you know, at this point, the parents are as much the teachers as we are.
Yeah.
So sort of being able to talk to them about like
maybe if we
how to
made
help
it
with
an
it helps.
assignment.
Sorry, what?
Maybe if we made it an assignment
Say,
instead of optional.
yeah. Your
Right
audio.
there?
Yeah,
Okay.
your audio is all messed up. It looked like your internet connection.
It's all messed up. I know. I can only hear you guys every other word, but I'm not on mute. Can you guys hear me?
Now we
I
can.
can hear it
You
now.
cannot hear me?
Yeah, what I was gonna.
Can you hear me?
Yes. What I was gonna recommend to everybody as well, in case you're interested, because you brought up differentiated instruction, something that I'm gonna be spending a lot of time with this summer is this book.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this before, but it's I'm gonna be spending. Go ahead.
If you have any questions about that, that's everything that Zach and I do every day is different. I've been doing it
Sounds
for
like my
20
whole
years, so if you
program.
need any help.
I will definitely be inquiring. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
These need to
that.
Okay, listen.
Kelly, it's a book called Differentiated Instruction, Book of Lists.
This is it. This is 26.
This is a book I learned about through Courtney Coffin, one of the instructional coaches for the district that I know you know. Yeah. Well, hey, unless anybody has other questions for Zach, we'll go ahead and move on to Javier's presentation. Javier, let me make you co-host. Give me 1 second. So name, make co-host. There you go.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Let's get started with my colloquium notes. Or I'm trying to minimize all your faces so I can see my whole screen. All right, good. All right. So that's actually our class picture for this school year. We'll start with standard 1, engaging and supporting all students in learning. I selected standard 1.1, using knowledge of students to engage them in learning. This whole distant learning thing threw all of us for a loop, not just new teachers. It's even the most experienced, which the colloquium meetings or induction meetings every week with Brad have really been a helpful piece for us to get that perspective from other teachers and get that peer feedback and bounce ideas off each other. What made it especially tough is knowing for the students to know that their grade is the same as March 13th, whether they do the work or not. It's all depending on their initiative and how much we can entice them to want to participate. The way we did that is getting to know our students. We don't just know them inside the classroom. Our program has social media established for the program that all of them follow very closely, not just Google Classroom Remind, but Facebook for their parents, YouTube for recording and chronicling everything we do in the classroom and within the program, Instagram, and even as recently as when this started, using TikTok. This way, we ensure we have 100% communication with our cadets. If they're not checking in the Google Classroom, we have a means to reach them, plant that seed of something that's going on inside the classroom that they might want to join us for, and just sort of peak and supplement that interest to keep them coming back for more. All right, so we use a variety of instructional strategies, resources, technologies to meet students' diverse learning needs. During the springtime is usually when ROTC takes all their fundraiser money, and for classes we give in the, for instruction we give in the classroom, we supplement it with field trips. And the students look forward to it. They work their butts off all school year trying to raise that money so that they can go to these fun places. And we didn't want to miss out on it completely. So what we did, we have classes that include the President of the United States and his relationship with Congress, and some of the battles you see playing out on TV, and how that is supposed to be as interpreted by our Constitution. So then we take them on field trips, to a virtual field trip to the White House and to the Capitol, something we were supposed to do this spring anyway. So we're just trying to keep that normalcy and try to keep them on schedule with what we would normally be doing in ROTC. Standard 2, creating and maintaining effective environments for student learning. Okay, so Standard 2.2 is creating physical or virtual learning environments that promote student learning, reflect diversity, and encourage constructive and productive interaction among students. So a lot of what we do has to be done in person. It's hard to imagine teaching color guard or teaching a drill team how to drill online. It's just not ideal. It's not an effective means of instruction. Fortunately for us, this happened in the second semester of a very successful school year. So what we did is we took the same approach that football teams, basketball teams, and other sports teams use. They use film review to critique their play, to critique their fundamentals, and provide feedback. So we started posting videos of ROTC units, including our own, in action for our cadets to provide feedback on, comment against each other, against their peers' feedback, and just keep them engaged. What we're hoping this does, and what we're seeing from the quality of feedback, is that the cadets know what they're seeing, they know what good looks like, they know what the objective is, and they're able to go out there and teach it. The second part of this is we have them teach a designated movement, and we've got a state progression of movements that we assign. They teach these movements, and the amount of detail they're providing and replying to it with more critique on their peers has us feeling very confident that on the peer side, the peer leadership side of our program, next year when they go in to teach our young freshmen, they're going to be able to do some amazing things with great detail. Standard 2.6, employing classroom rules, procedures, norms, or support for positive behavior and ensure a climate in which students can learn. So what we have is our rules and regulations of the program. Each cadet takes this home every school year, or when they join the program, say mid-semester, and they initial along the side of each paragraph in the classroom, ensuring they understand what each one of our requirements are. It's a unique environment. You know, chewing gum in a regular class might not distract a teacher or might not bother a teacher. I know some teachers allow cell phones in classrooms because it aids in their research abilities or capabilities. We have very, very strict military style rules that we need them to know up front. We need mom and dad to know up front. So the cadets initial each paragraph, and then parents sign the second page of the form saying that they understand what the standard is for being in ROTC, staying in ROTC, and the probation measures we have in case they start to slip. Standard 3, understanding and organizing subject matter. So we have to demonstrate that we understand the subject matter, that not only we understand that we know it, but we can do it. The most important thing we do is set the example. We have to show that we not only know about it and teach it, we can actually perform the work we're doing. So here's a YouTube video of my co-teacher, Master Sergeant Mundorf, conducting our daily physical training that we do for the distant learning on YouTube prior to assigning it to the students, and they follow along with the video. Continuing with standard 3, organizing curriculum to facilitate student learning of the subject matter. So this screenshot here is my LE4s. That are leadership education 4s. These are our seniors that have been with the program 4 years, and they're getting ready to leave high school. At this point, the focus of academics shifts from discipline in a military setting to career preparation. So this module is called Career Opportunities. We teach them about college opportunities, how you even pay for college, because everybody thinks they want to go. We talk about culture fit when they start looking for their first job, and how important it is, if you want to be happy, know what it is your personality wants in order to be, and needs in order to be successful in a work environment. We introduce them to trades and different skilled labor employment opportunities that they may not have heard of, because from K to 12 they hear a lot about college and they hear a lot about what's after, but we show them what some of their skill sets might be that they haven't tapped into yet. From there, we have them develop their resumes, build their resumes, and provide feedback to each other on resumes, and then we finish off with job interviews. And that was actually this past Tuesday. After that, we go on to big adult type classes like paying taxes, managing a budget, and paying our bills. Standard 4, planning instruction and designing learning experiences for all students. We start with 4.2, establishing and articulating goals for student learning. So every task and every event in ROTC is graded. This rubric you see in front of you now is for planning and leading an event. A lot of what we do is involved in the community, so it's not just in the classroom. We're talking about nights and weekends where cadets contribute and engage outside their communities. For our freshmen, it's as simple as that. They take part and they assist. But our upperclassmen have to plan. They have to organize. They have to prepare, and they have to lead the event. They liaison with that community representative, and then at the end, they provide an after-action report with best practices and lessons learned for the next year's event. And the instructors grade each and every event. Standard 4, developing and sequencing long-term and short-term instructional plans to support learnings. So our entire program, our entire school plan for the year is on our website. And within that website is embedded our calendar. Here's a screenshot of what we had going on in January. It tells our cadets items are due, who our duty platoon is. That's a platoon that's responsible for the administrative and logistical tasks supporting instruction outside the classroom for the week. Classes they can expect to receive, projects that are due, or if parts of projects are due, what part of that project they should expect to turn in. Also include notes that might come from the school, such as CSET, or I'm sorry, CSET, the SAT testing, senior photos, little things that the school might have going on that may not be repeated often enough. We throw it on our calendar as well. Assessing students for learning. We have a very robust and demanding curriculum. They do physical training because it is a physical PE credit for our freshmen and sophomore. We do physical training twice a week and some sort of physical development every single day with physical fitness tests conducted in the fall and spring. They receive instruction on close order drill, which builds discipline and teamwork and small unit leadership. Marksmanship, they learn on little pellet rifles, the fundamentals of weapon safety and handling. They do community service. They plan, organize, and stage ceremonies. Our senior leaders council our their subordinate cadets to help shape them for the future of the program and develop their supervision skills. And then finally, we do promotions where cadets ascend in rank in increasing sets of responsibility. Standard 5, so we're talking about assessment. We involve all of our students in assessment, goal setting, and monitoring of progress. We have goals set within the program. For the program, we want to be more competitive than we were the year before. So if we took 3rd place at an event, we want 2nd or 1st this year. If you came into a program as a private, we want to work with you as you ascend in rank all the way up to company commander. And we use cadets to mentor and shape that entire process. .7, using assessment information to share timely and comprehensive feedback with students and families. So our parents are informed through our website. All of our parents during orientation get our website information. We post that out there for them to know and have access to and communicate with our students. And then we also make sure that we keep in mind that they're not going to our website. People want information push. Parents are busy. So we use a lot of social media, Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok to stay in touch with parents and students. Email is used for more formal means of communication. You know, maybe a student's forgetting something or starting to fall a little bit behind. And infinite campus messaging system to reach out to a more broad swath of parents for more particular items such as missing assignments or upcoming events that we really need them to help prepare their students for. Standard 6, developing as a professional educator, establishing goals and engaging continuous and purposeful professional growth and development. So in addition to induction, I just finished the last of my credentialing courses. All I have left is CPR, which I was a combat lifesaver in the Marine Corps. It's just a matter of completing the course through the district. And then from here on, I'm going to get started through Sac State on my master's program. So learning is continuous. In fact, I spent my spring break learning how to be a distant education learner, and that's paying great dividends with what we're seeing in classroom participation now. Standard 6, demonstrating professional responsibility, integrity, and ethical conduct. So in the Marine Corps, our core values are honor, courage, and commitment. Integrity is the bedrock of everything we do. We know with distant learning, there's a reality that not all students are giving their best effort. Not all students are honestly completing assignments or putting their best effort to what's expected of them. So we started with, before our first lesson was, remember what we're here for. We're here for our integrity. If we have nothing else, it's our integrity. We won't be remembered for our grade. We will be remembered for how we strove to achieve that grade. So we use that to the end. Are there any questions?
That was pretty robust there, Javier. I don't know if we have too many questions there on that. You covered a lot of big bases there. I am still curious about getting your Google Classroom code though, and maybe your Facebook and Instagram hashtags too.
Sure, yeah.
That'd be awesome. I'm anxious to see what your communications look like.
Go ahead.
I'm curious about the use of the social media to stay in touch with parents using Facebook and Instagram and how you go about doing that.
So
and
kids have, just like us, we've got a bunch of stuff going on, but they always have time for social media. They always have their phone on their hands. They're not coming into the classroom as much as they were a couple weeks ago. Yeah. So we just put posts out there. We did our interviews for our senior leaders for next school year. We did those interviews on Tuesday. So Tuesday afternoon, I posted the results of, okay, next year's commanding officer, executive officer, first sergeant, company guardian sergeant are these cadets. I put it on Instagram, and boom, they all see it. They start liking it. They start thinking about ROTC, and they're like, oh, I might as well log on to Google Classroom and do my stinking assignments. And, they do it with
So
an
the
app.
Instagram account, is it in your name, or do you have, or your Facebook, or did you make one for the class or the school, or what did you do?
It's just for the program. Yeah, I personally don't use social media. I'm so new at this. I actually go on YouTube to learn ideas of how social media influencers work.
Really? You can learn how social media influencers work? Because that's what a big question for me has been. There's YouTube videos on that?
Yeah, I'm so behind. I've never had my own Bookface account, MySpace account. I've never done any of that stuff on my own. But in my previous employment at the corporate level, I know marketing is everything. I know it.
Is everything.
If you don't have your brand, you don't have anything. So I knew I had to force myself to learn social media.
So when they contact you, it's through like the Kennedy ROTC. That's like what your Facebook, what they're connecting with, is how they're finding you.
Right. And we post it to it on our website. And during orientation, we talk to our parents about the different ways we're going to try to keep in touch with them and their students.
Okay. Yeah. I know they cannot stay off of Facebook. So I think that's a great idea.
They love it.
I don't know about Facebook, but Instagram, absolutely.
Yeah.
TikTok. They spent a good 6 months trying to get me to do my first TikTok.
TikTok is crazy. I'm so scared of that.
Yeah.
Actually, I have two things that I wanted to sort of give you for feedback. I think the sort of student leadership thing that you guys do is really cool, especially that like critiquing thing where the students sort of review video and like teach the skills that they've learned. I think that's a really awesome like opportunity for the students to like fully embrace what they've learned. Because I know for myself, like when I teach something, I understand it much better than when I was just learning it passively. And then that whole class on career opportunities and like all of that stuff, that's actually something that I want to work on for my program, and especially for like my upperclassmen. And sort of in special ed, we have something that we have to do called transition, and we need to get our kids like explicitly ready for when they don't have special ed sort of services through the school system. So I'd actually be interested in seeing some of your curriculum if you wouldn't mind. But
and the company I used to work for before I got here, Zach, was Private Industries. Their mission is creating jobs for people with disabilities. I'd be glad to reach out and hook you guys up with a guest speaker if you want.
Well,
I got Mashtarn Mundorf's son a job with them.
I would also suggest, Mr. Lee, that you should think about any of your kids who might enjoy ROTC and having them take it as an elective. I've had some of mine in the last 10 years do it, and granted, some failed miserably, and Master Sergeant kindly asked me to not have them come back. But some of them have done a really good job and lasted for the full 4 years. And so some of your kids might really like the regime and the structure and the rules.
Yeah.
And then that'll help them succeed in some of their other classes.
Okay. Sorry, Javier, what was the company that you used to work for?
Pride Industries, based in Roseville.
Okay. Did you say Orangevale?
No, Roseville.
Roseville. Okay, I was
Pride Industries is awesome.
I loved it. If I could sit still in an office, I'd still be there. I'm just not sit still.
It's such a good program.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to work with them and then also Access Leisure.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I need to become more sort of familiar with those programs out there in the community. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Sandy, you all set?
I'm all set, dude.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen then.
Ready?
Yep. Give me 1 second. Okay. Whoops, wrong one, sorry.
That's at the bottom, yeah.
There we go. What did I do?
Go to the second slide, remember?
Yeah,
First slide might not load and you might have to go straight to the second slide. That's the first slide. Oh no, that's 6.
give me 1 second.
Keep going.
All right. So,
Man,
go.
things are all look
Okay.
bad.
One more up. One more up, keep going. There you go. Okay, that's my title slide. So if you push play, and you might have to just forward as I tell you. So Colloquium, hi everyone. I'm Sandra Manich-Cea for Colloquium May 2020. And my first slide is on Standard 1, engaging and supporting all students in learning. And you can go on to the next slide, please. Brett?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just did
All
it.
right. So I would like you guys to be aware that all of the visual images that you are seeing that look like art are all the art of Kennedy students that have been produced this year up until March of this year, or actually I might have some from the online as well. So this is a student's work that is an example of using knowledge of students to engage them in learning. And I like to make a lot of ties to students love the Avengers, they love Stan Lee, they love animation, they love Tim Burton, and it's all art, it's all based on art. So I use the things that they are interested in to engage them in lessons in mainstream fine artists that you see in museums, which this artist's name is Roy Lichtenstein, and he's in museums all over the world. And so I'm using that tie of their interest in animation and cartoons, and also the scaffolded skill building that they have been, they would not be at the point of being able to produce this if they hadn't gone through the scaffolded skill building that we went through starting in September. And all along, I've been using what I know they're interested in. So one of those ideas is comics and animation, and that we'll go on into some other issues that we're going to talk about, like we just talked about with social media and the kind of platforms that they like to learn on. So you can go on to the next slide. There, it's taking a while to fade in. Okay, 1.4, using a variety of instructional strategies, resources, and technologies to meet students' diverse needs. So that's what we've been doing is, I'm trying to get my slide up here too, there we go. Okay, so I made a bunch of YouTube video demonstrations that are sequential. They're short, they're about, that one is 3.3 minutes and 50 seconds, as you can see, so that they can, the students can access demo, and I'm using a platform that I think that they like to use. I'm aware of what they like to use as resources. And so I was using Google Classroom, using YouTube, and I want to start adding the social media that we talked about. But one thing I would like to mention is that I used Google Classroom last year when it was not a necessity like we're having now, and I used it in a very large classroom that like 37 students that were, the classroom management was difficult. And I used it as a classroom management strategy so that I could have them viewing the Google Classroom and going through the videos, and I was able to walk the classroom and monitor behavior while they were on Google Classroom. And that actually worked really well for a very difficult class. So that's another way that I have used Google Classroom in a different way. So I wanted to mention that, and you can carry on to the next slide. And that also, that's the project that we've been working on since we left the mask project. So the next slide is Standard 2, creating and maintaining effective environments for student learning. All right, you can carry on. So this is one of my very favorite things in art, because art is a cultural activity, and it requires communication and community. So we kind of went on to the next, we need to go back. And what really, it's really exciting to see a small table group when they form this cohesive unit and they support each other, and they very frequently become a art movement of their own, because you'll see a style that the table develops and they become like their little art movement. And it's really exciting to see. So I love small groups and table groups and peer support in the art classroom. So we got my slides are going ahead of me here, Brett. We have to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we hit both on 2, is that correct?
I think so, yeah. So
That was the
student
tech. Okay. So now we're at standard 3. I think we're okay to go ahead. Okay. Okay. So understand. So we were at the first slide. There we were. Uh-oh, we did not get that.
Are you ready to move on?
No, we did not hit 2.5.
Okay.
We hit the small table group, but we didn't hit the 2.5, which is developing. If you can go back to the portrait that's right in front of this, Brett, developing, communicating, and maintaining high standards for individual and group behavior. Portrait as an example of developing, communicating, and maintaining high standards for individual and group behavior, because the quality of the work, in my opinion, it's project oriented work. And when you have high quality work that comes out of the class like this consistently, that it is an example that illustrates that we are having met this standard. So you can continue on now.
Okay. You all set with the?
I'm all set. So standard 3, understanding and organizing subject matter for student learning. And these are all student artwork. As I was saying, every one of the slides are student artwork. This is the cover of a portfolio. So each student creates their own portfolio, and they keep all of their work from the whole semester in their portfolio, so that they can really look at their body of work and they can analyze themselves, and they can see the progress that they've made over time in their portfolio. So you can go on to the next slide. So that's what I'm really all about. We'll get to that in assessing later. But you know, some students feel like they're not an artist. They have this mental block. That's something I have to overcome and encourage them that we are all artists. It's part of being the human condition, and they're only going to be compared to improving their own work, and not compared to the best artist in the room. They're compared to themselves. So 3.3, organizing curriculum to facilitate student understanding of the subject matter. This is one of the lessons. My lessons are skill building, scaffolded. Let's have skill in drawing. That then the second semester we go into color and other things that build on that. But being able to communicate through drawing and the skill building is super, super important. And that is how you go from, this lesson is called Basis Spaces. It's about positive and negative space. And these are part of the elements of art that they need to understand to get to the point of that portrait that you saw that's at the end of the semester. So you can go on to the next slide, please. And that, just so that you guys know, that portrait that we just saw, that's the first semester that that student has ever had an art class. Okay, so 3.1, demonstrate knowledge of subject matter, academic content standards, and curriculum framework. So this is one of our art standards, is understanding value, the principles of design, and anyway, so Demonstrating knowledge of subject matter. For one thing, the first thing I did before I came and got my teaching credential was to get a master's degree in fine art. So I rock my knowledge of subject matter. And I also demonstrate my knowledge when I show students how to correct their work. I will either try not to make corrections right on their work, because they get wise to that real quick, and then they try to get me to do their work for them. So I might make a correction on the side, but I do and show them my work in everything that I'm asking them to do. So you can carry on to the next slide. But this is one of the principles of art, value. That's the value lesson that I just, principles of art and elements of design that I just showed you guys. So standard 4, planning, instruction, and designing learning experiences for all students. So this is one of my students' portraits. This is from another school from Irvine, but all the rest of them are from Kennedy. So you can carry on to the next slide, please. Brett?
Yep, it's going.
I know, I should never have done the fade thing. Anyway. Okay. Establishing and articulating goals for student learning. So what I do is backward design from the very beginning of the semester. I have a website gallery that the students from a prior class had built to show the students' work and what they accomplished at the end of the semester. So when I show them a portrait like this, or like the portrait that was the one prior, and I'll ask them, would you guys like to be able to do this at the end of the semester? So they know what their goal is. They see what other students have done, which I think is more important than them seeing my work, because it's more immediate to them. If they feel like if this other student can do it, then they can do it. They see my work and it's just, I don't think they relate to it but I show them my work too. But really, other students' work, when they see the portrait that gal did that I just showed you guys, they get excited and they want to be able to do this. And they've been frustrated by their lack of skill building. And they think it's just a magical thing that either you're born an artist or you're not born an artist. But that's not really the truth. That they need to show them what their peers can do, then it really opens their engagement up, and they get fully engaged that way. So, and this is how I do it, backward design. And then backward design and scaffolded skill building. So we can carry on to the next slide. Developing and sequencing long-term and short-term instructional plans to support student learning. So I think that what I just described kind of overlaps with this, because the long-term goal, I backward design, show them what the long-term goal is, but then I show them the short-term steps in the instructional plan to get there. And this is one of the steps that we use, which is using a grid and line drawing. So they start out in line, which is one of the elements of art that they learn about. And then they go on to value and shading, which you guys have already seen. So this, I really like using the grid. And this is something that I found as far as you guys were talking about resources that were, I'm trying to think of the way that you described it when we were resources for differentiation. And what I'll do with this, a lot of times I have a light table, a few light tables in the classroom, and students that really need a lot of support, I'll give first time just to get muscle memory. And for the students that really need that support, maybe they'll stop there if that's as far as they can get, or maybe they'll be able to, after they've done it once, then they can freehand it. So this is an ideal tool to be able to differentiate instruction and allow students to make progress in the ways that they're able to make progress. So I think that's it for that. So carry on.
Do you need me to go
Standard
further?
5 is, yeah.
One more?
Standard 5, go ahead. Assess
Your voice is cutting out again.
students for learning. And the cover is again. Yeah, go ahead, please. Thank you, Brett.
Your voice is cutting out big time, so it's
Go
hard
ahead.
to know when you're
To the
telling.
next slide.
Is this it? Is this the one you want?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now I
Did we
can.
freeze?
Yeah,
I
yes.
can hear you again. Okay. Are you there, Brett? Okay, you're going on to the next slide,
Okay.
Brett.
Did you
What's
not want?
cutting off? No, go ahead to the next one.
So you don't want 5.5.
Okay, go ahead to the next one.
Sandy, to be clear, do you want 5.5 or do you want 6?
She's frozen.
Ugh.
Oh, she's gone.
And now she's out.
Yeah, I just don't see us in the fall being on a bell schedule when there's gonna be so many students that don't have reliable internet.
Yep.
Are they talking about that as like as a thing that we're going to be doing?
Did you guys get the survey yesterday from the union?
So I didn't get through it yet.
Yeah. We filled out a survey on it.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm back. Are you guys?
I'll
Yep.
take a look.
We're
Can
here.
you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, let's go back to the slide right before this one. If we can. Well,
Is
we
this
can
one?
discuss this one. I think we did not hit the first 5. There we go. We need to hit the first 5. Okay, the first one in 5 is applying knowledge of the purposes, characteristics, and uses of different types of assessments. So this is the portfolio is part of the type of assessment, and the purpose of the portfolio is for students to be able to self-assess and for them to see their progress and have easy access to their entire body of work. And it's also the professional standard for artists to have a portfolio. So that's one way that we are applying our knowledge of purpose, characteristics, and uses of types of assessments. So one is the portfolio, and you can carry on to the next, please, Brett. The next one is showing a group critique, and these are not Kennedy students. They're just a couple of them, but all the rest of them are from Kennedy. But I didn't get a chance to get photographs of everything that I wanted. But we'll post our work around the room, and students will, in an organized manner, it's called a gallery walk, stand up from their tables and circle the room slowly, view in and respectfully, viewing each other's work. And so that's one of the ways that we are self-assessing and monitoring progress. So they're not only they're assessing their own work, and they're also, by seeing their peers' work, they can compare themselves to what their peers are doing and see where they might be able to improve by seeing their fellow students' works. So go ahead. Standard 6, developing as a professional educator. You can go on from that, Brett.
Do you need me to go one more?
No, you're good. No, right now we're reflecting on teaching practice in support of student learning. And I think that we've all had to really think a lot about that and change our practice in order to adapt to our new situation. So in the COVID and the remote distance learning. So I think we've all been really doing that, in addition to participating in the induction program and my weekly meetings in induction, which has been really helpful. So I would carry on to the next one from there. Okay. And the last one is 6.2. establishing professional goals and engaging in continuous and purposeful professional growth and development. And what I did is I took a screenshot so that you guys could see what my students are submitting in my Google Classroom. So that's my focus right now is like Javier said, creating a brand for myself, finding a way that students really want to engage in the remote learning activities that I'm offering to them, and finding the way that will engage them the most. That's where I feel like the focus needs to be for the distance learning. And in addition to that, I'm also pursuing, I have my master's degree in my content area. I have my teaching credential. I'm pursuing finishing my induction, but I'm also in my content area. I've worked outside of the educational system. I had my own business as an artist, and I'm working on getting my painting and decorating contractor's license right now. And I think that having that will just be a way of, like what Javier was talking about, how you can teach your students what they can do in real world and have a career in what we're teaching them. And so I think that by my having that, I will be an example to them. And that's what I'm working on right now. So that's about it. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
I just want to comment that a lot of that work from the students is just beautiful.
That's like
It
crazy
was
good.
beautiful. I want to take your class next year.
Yeah, I can't really put tic-tac-toe.
Yeah,
I have so much fun. So if you see that last screenshot that I showed you guys, I mean, I almost feel like crying because these kids have been thrown, into this, and to see the work that they're trying, and I really would, once I can get all of them on board, then I'll be really happy. But yeah, they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Actually, this is sort of,
Only one survivor. Only
Yeah.
one person
Uh-oh.
survived.
this is sort of beside the point, but, or beside sort of what you're talking about, but like, for like next year, how are you thinking through like getting your students like the resources for art classes? Because like some of them might not have paint or markers at home, or that kind of thing. Like, because one thing that I try to do with my students is give them hands-on things, but with transitioning to online, if their family doesn't have a printer, doing printouts and then cutting things out and putting together like instructional materials just isn't sort of a possibility. So I've had to like come up with alternatives that are just Google Docs based, but that's not nearly as engaging. So I mean, for an art class, I'm sort of interested in how that's going to work out,
One of the things we're going to do that Brett and Javier, Brett, it's called Padlet. Is that?
It was me, Pirate.
We need to add a platform so that all the students can see each other's work. But Zach, I'm not real clear on the question, except that I know that it's leading into where we're going to go next year and how the resources. One of the things, because of supplies, so one student said he didn't even have paper, but he did everything on his cell phone. He drew everything in color. And so a few students that are having those issues have found a workaround, and I don't even know what platform they're using, but they're submitting work that looks amazing with nothing but their cell phone. And that's acceptable. Also, one thing that Brett has talked about, but you guys haven't had the privilege of having the conversation, is hopefully we'll have a pickup at school where we can have a packet of supplies and they can, that we can send them home with. That would be hopefully going to be happening next year.
Okay.
And then one thing I want to start doing, and I believe it's called Padlet, which what I shared with you guys so that everybody can see everybody else's work, like as if we were in the classroom. And that was the platform that was suggested by both Javier and Brett. I haven't looked into it. That's the next lesson we're going to have, actually, because we need to have a final critique.
Cool.
I think Padlet will definitely help your program. But even, I'm not saying social media is the end all be all, but if you are looking for branding the art department in your art class, you could create your own Instagram, YouTube, and sites, and as long as the students sign off on it, that they're willing to have their stuff released to the public. Like,
Right. I've got to get my.
But then, yeah, you can start posting all your stuff.
Get the release from them. Yeah. Yeah, I think that especially because it's almost like what I just shared with you guys. It's, you know, it's visual and I want us to look into. So yeah, I think that that's what we're going to be doing is it's not either, but I realize that that's actually what we're doing is we're a brand, you know, and that's what we got to do.
And they love seeing their name and their stuff on social media. They love the shout.
They probably want to get tagged on it.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I'm glad you brought that up because I actually, my students were doing this mask project and one of the posts that they got from me is that the masks that they're making, I've seen them for sale on Pinterest for like $30 each. And I posted that to them. I'm like, look, you guys, the same thing that you guys are doing right now, these people are selling on Pinterest and anywhere from $30 to $200. So yeah. I'm trying to inspire them in any way that I can think of. Every way. Yeah, money's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the students should all be getting paid a certain amount a day to go to school. This could be something that could interact with our online because we get money every day that they show up. I think that there should be a fund for every day that they attend. And when they graduate, they have that money waiting for them, $1,000 or whatever that from their attendance that they earned, because we are a capitalist society. We teach them to work for money. So how are we expecting them out of the goodness of their heart to get on our Google Classroom?
Well, because it's the expectation, you know?
Yeah.
I think
I have kids who haven't logged in since, like they're logging in, hold on babe, they're logging in every day to do the engagement survey. But then they're not logging into any of their classes and doing any of the work. And I call the students and talk to their families and like weekly, almost daily with Lauren. And the kids are like, well, I don't have to do the work because the district's just going to give me the grade I had on March 13th. And I keep trying to tell them that there's this expectation that we're still in school and that they should be doing it because they're looking for this diploma and they're not going to get paid and have a job that's going to pay them if they can't get up every day and do what's expected of them. Exactly. And like right now I've got 14 kids in my class. I've got one junior and one senior who log in every day and do all the work. And that senior, I've got 5 seniors. She's the only one I'm going to be a reference for and do a recommendation letter for when she goes out to try to get a job. Because the 4 other kids, I've got 4 other kids. One kid been failing Spanish and he emailed Mr. Brandt this morning saying, hey, I never use my bathroom passes. Can you just give me a D if I give you my bathroom pass back? And I'm like, you little schmuck. I'm like, you've been sitting for a whole month getting high every day and you do the fucking work. Oh, sorry, Hugo. Do the work. Like,
hey guys, I'm gonna have to end it here in a few seconds because I have another Zoom at 11:30.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I apologize for doing that, but does anybody have any kind of closing statement before we wrap it up?
It's been good to talk to you guys, though.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Fun. Yeah.
Is anyone going out to the school today to hand out cap and gowns?
I will be there.
Me too.
Yeah, I'll see you there then.
All right.
Cool.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.